Welcome to For the Long Run, the podcast exploring the why behind what keeps runners running long, strong, and motivated. I'm your host, Jonathan Levitt. I've been running for a few years now and have the privilege of meeting many incredible runners on my travels all across the country. This podcast is intended to share those amazing conversations. Welcome back. I am here again in Flagstaff, Arizona with Cody Reed. Cody, thanks for joining today.
Thanks for having me.
For sure. So who is Cody Reed?
Oh, Cody Reed is just, guy. He does whatever he wants, I guess. Yeah, like running a lot. And trail ultras have been pretty great so far.
Cool. So what is it about the longer distance that you enjoy?
Well, I've run competitively for most of my life now, but that was always in high school and college. That was running track and cross country, relatively short distances. Now, I think I was never like the fastest at those distances. I always enjoyed the longer training runs type of stuff and running on the trails growing up. And so getting into the trail ultras was like a natural progression in that. And all of the training that I had done growing up just helped with my success.
Cool. Why'd you run your first ultra? Or when did you run your first ultra?
So I went to my first ultra. It was the Lake Sonoma 50K or 50 miler, and I crewed Jim Walmsley, Tim Frericks at the race, just to like get a feel for it. And I immediately knew that I needed to run my own ultra, and I consulted them because Jim knew a lot more about the sport than I did at the time, and said I should do the Miwok 100K.
As your first race? As
my first race. And I was a little hesitant to sign up for 100K. My first race was like, really? 100K? Like, how about a 50K? He's like, nah, just do it.
This is Jim that said that?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And I was like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. And
had you run beyond a marathon at that point?
I had not run a marathon. I still have not run an actual marathon. The furthest I had raced was 10K. In college, I mostly ran the 5K and the steeplechase. And the longest training run I had done was, I think, 25 miles. So
track to 100K was the
track
was the
to
journey.
100K. 10K to 100K.
Cool. What was that first 100K like?
It was so great until it wasn't. I think it was around halfway, like that 50K mark, when everything started really hitting me hard.
What did you do at that point?
I just kept moving forward. I kept eating, but it was slow going and it really hurt. And I was just waiting for that second wind to come, hoping that it would. And it finally did in the last few miles, and was able to pass the guy who had passed me when I was dying, that slow death, and got him at the end.
Nice. So something you said initially, when I asked who is Cody, you said a guy that does what he wants. I think a lot of people in today's society sort of try and like follow what other people want them to do, and it's cool and refreshing to sort of hear that you're following your own arrow and you're doing what you want. So let's talk a little bit more about that. What did you mean by that in terms of you're doing what you want?
Yeah, life so far has been school and organized sports and parents and a lot of people when they're kids, they're like, I can't wait to be an adult,
yeah,
and just like do what I want but then they become adults and they're not really doing what they want.
Right.
Or they're doing what they think they want to do. But it's all what they think they need to do
To make other people happy.
basically to make other people happy, to follow the norms, supposedly. And when I was in college, I realized, like late in my time in college, I realized that wasn't going to work out for me. And so I was like, I just really need to do what works for me. And I'm still like trying to figure that out. But I think...
Was there some risk involved?
Yeah, there's always risk involved in that, but it's worth it in the end, to like live the life that you want to, instead of living the life that other people want you to live.
For sure. So an example of that, today's Friday. You were in the canyon yesterday.
Yeah.
What was that like? You know,
It was
getting out there and just being you in an amazing place like that.
Yeah. So yesterday I went to the canyon with some friends, and it was my first time down there in the last 6 months. And so because it was summer and it gets over 100 degrees down there, there's not that much water. So we kind of avoided it mostly in the summer. But taking that time off every year from the canyon, just makes it that much better when you come back. And like seeing the Grand Canyon, especially for the first time, is just mind blowing. The size of it, like you can't even see the bottom of it from the top rim. And I got a little bit of that feeling again when I was there. And just yesterday was like a particularly good day for me. Felt great. Usually after taking a break, it takes like 1 or 2 times back to like get back into that canyon rhythm, but I fell right into step again and had a great run.
Nice. So when you're out there, I know it's a popular training location for you and a couple of your training partners. What are you generally doing out there, or is it different every time?
Like what trails are we doing?
Yeah, trails. Are you doing a workout? Is it a long run?
Yeah, it's a long run / workout every time. It's like everything that you need, basically. It's got fast running on the downhill. It's got massive climb to get out. It's got, you have to eat while you're in there. So you're working on like your nutrition and your pacing. And the loop that I normally do down there is 21 miles. You go down Bright Angel, you refill at Bright Angel Campground, your water, and then you climb out on South Kaibab Trail and then connect on the bike path between the two, which is another couple miles. And that's, the bread and butter loop that we always do. But my favorite route there is probably an out and back run to Ribbon Falls. It's like 28 miles. Just go down South Kaibab, past Phantom Ranch to North Kaibab, and this epic looking waterfall with like hanging gardens is just off the trail. It's like this oasis.
That's awesome.
Type area.
Cool. Sounds amazing. Getting in there tomorrow, and I can't wait.
Yeah.
So you mentioned nutrition, and you got to eat. You work with a nutrition partner. You have a couple of other sponsors. I think one thing that people listening to this podcast enjoy, and people listening to the podcast, correct me if I'm wrong, is hearing about pro athletes and how the sponsorship works, and how is it working with sponsors and balancing the use of social media and staying true to yourself and your own message. So what's been your experience working with brands and sharing stuff that works for you?
Working with the brands so far has been great. I don't work with just anybody that reaches out to me. I will always want to like try the product, see if I like it before I say anything about it. And as far as my nutrition sponsor goes, Spring, like this is honest. Like if they didn't exist, I don't know what I would be doing. Like if I would even be doing this, because eating is such an important part of ultra running. You know, you can only run so far before you have to refuel. And it's definitely a lot less than 100K. I've tried the Goo and the Cliff and a couple other things, like other natural gels, and the flavor was a problem with me. The consistency, just keeping it down for the most part, and that's a common thing for so many runners. But they keep just banging their head against the wall, and they keep eating those things because that's maybe they think that's what everyone does, or they have to do that. But I mean, whenever I've offered people some Spring to try, it's like an instant convert. They're just hooked on it, and it's been really great for me. I've got my own flavor, Speed Nut, inspired by what I was eating at Western States in 2018. It's got a bunch of caffeine and fat, and usually when I go to the Grand Canyon and I do that loop, I just need one of those.
One for 21 miles?
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. So you mentioned Western States. What was that experience like? I know I've been out there a couple times, and it's such a cool environment. What was it like running it?
Big event. Running it was amazing. I had been to it previous years. I saw how, like what the energy was like there. Running it though was even magnified even more. Just so much energy, and like I felt so laser focused the entire time. Like just the other day, a friend asked me if like I remembered all of it, and I was like, I remember all of it in extreme detail. In fact,
what was your favorite part, or one of your favorite parts?
Favorite part, probably the climb up to Green Gate. Like you get to the river crossing around mile 71, I think, and then there's this 1 to 2 mile long hill up to the next aid station. It's just a dirt road, and I remember running it the year before, planning on just by myself running it the year before, thinking like if I ever race this, I will probably have to walk this. Like this is a long, big hill. But I get to that hill when I was racing, and I just hammered it. Like, I don't know where it came from, but I just felt so amazing.
That's awesome.
Going up that, and that was one of the highlights of the race.
What was it like coming around the track?
What was it like?
Yeah.
It was another highlight for sure. Coming around the track, like, it was nice finish, but the race, like me and Kyle Patari, we were really racing the previous mile really hard.
Yeah.
Like we were going sub 6 minute pace.
Yeah, but I'm friends with one of his friends who was pacing him, and he dropped him.
Yeah, okay. So you met that guy. Yeah. I dropped my pacer as well going up the hill before we got onto the road at Roby Point. But it was like I had an out of body moment where I was like, how is this happening? I'm at mile 99 and I am going all out and still going fast. Like,
is that flow? Is that what you consider flow?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. That is what every runner probably is looking for.
Yeah. I had a conversation with Magda Boulay, and she's like, I live and train for those moments. Those are the moments
that's what
it's all about.
Live and train for sure.
Cool. So another partner you're working with is Under Armour.
Yes.
It's been cool to see the group that they've developed on the trail side, and they have a group here in Flagstaff, right? Or is it is everybody sort of on their own, but it's but trains together?
I'm the only trail athlete they have in Flagstaff, but they were actually just in town the beginning of the week, and I got to meet a bunch of the track and road runners on the team. Some of them that just signed this previous week. So got to meet a bunch of new people on the team and talk with some of the designers and athlete managers. It's really cool to have like such a big team in town, even though they're doing a slightly different sport.
Yeah.
It's great to have like that support here.
Cool. What's it like being in Flagstaff?
I mean, so many professional runners come here to train for a reason. Like, it's the perfect weather, like mild winters. We got the altitude. We got, as far as trail running goes, like we got the mountains. Sedona is an amazing place to run, amazing trails, and then the Grand Canyon, of course. Like, just so many options around here.
How often are you going down to Sedona or up to the canyon?
Down to Sedona, I don't know, every week to every other week, and same for the canyon, like when I'm really getting into it.
Cool. So we're up here at 7,000 feet. What are some of the things that you do to make that a little bit easier?
7,000 feet is like this really nice sweet spot. It's high enough to get a major gain in fitness from the altitude, but you're still able to recover well once you get acclimated. And so, I mean, I haven't really done anything, I don't think. You just have to be cognizant of it at all times. You know, you're never going to be able to run flat out as fast as you can at sea level. Mm-hmm. But the benefits of the altitude and like the physiological effects outweigh everything else.
That makes sense. What are some of the big goals that you're working towards in the next couple of years? What's keeping you grounded and motivated?
Ever since I started trail running, like I've had the biggest goals in mind, like just winning the biggest races, domestically and internationally. Yeah, I don't know. Just there's always something bigger to look forward to, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Cool. What are you thinking about when you're getting into that, like, pain cave at the end or middle or beginning of a longer distance event?
That's just part of the sport. Like at any distance, really, it's different. The kind of pain you feel is different in a 5K than it is in 100K or 100 miles. Even the difference between a 50K and 100 miles, it's all different, but it comes from the same place. And as runners, like, that's just something that we have to deal with in our own way, mentally, and like expect it. You know it's coming,
right?
So
welcome it in.
You got to welcome it in, and hope that it comes later than sooner.
Nice. Sort of a personal interest question. What do you recommend, or what are your tips for someone who's running their first rim to rim to rim?
Oh, why do you ask that?
Just asking for a friend.
For a friend, yeah. Just take it easy, enjoy the day. Like, the views, as you're running through the canyon, the views are like constantly changing, and they're so epic. Make sure you have enough water. Maybe you take a water filter. It is nice because then you can just fill up in the river. You don't have to worry about it. As you start the climb out the second time on the south rim, just start off easy. And then, once you get to halfway or to like Skeleton Point.
Why is it called Skeleton Point?
I don't know, actually.
Some skeletons out there?
I would imagine. And then once you get to Skeleton Point, that the worst is behind you, I think.
How much more is it from there?
So just before Skeleton Point is a halfway sign for South Kaibab. And so I think it's 2.5 miles from there, to 3 miles.
Cool. What are you scared of?
I don't know what I'm scared of. It's like a major weakness to be scared of something. Instead of being scared, I try to be, what's the word? More eager or interested in something. Like, there's no like boogeyman behind at the end of a 100-miler to be scared of.
Except at Javelina.
Except at Javelina and at Jackass Aid Station.
Yeah.
There might be
some boogeymans, some skeletons.
Yeah. But, yeah, like there's no reason to really be scared of anything, especially in running. What some people should be scared about is definitely like getting lost, running out of food, water, that basic stuff for like normal survival. But if you have that taken care of,
it's the hierarchy of needs. Just nail the basics.
Nail the basics. Let everything else fall into place. And yeah, you shouldn't like be scared of anything. Like new experiences and trying new things is like what life is for, I guess. And you shouldn't be scared of doing that. And so many people, like to go back to what we were talking about earlier, are scared of the new experiences and trying new things because they are just, I don't know, not interested, or they're scared of it. They need to live their own life and experience those things.
Makes sense. So for someone who is looking to move up in distance, what are some things you might suggest for them? Just do it? Or are there, what would you say?
Move up in race distance? Yeah. Yeah, like just do it. But there's a smart way to do it, like increase training load, little by little, increase like hourly or the weekly training hours, whether it's through like just running or cross training on top of that, like biking.
Are you doing a lot of cross training as well, or just a lot of running?
Lately, no, actually. I've just been running a lot, but I do like biking every once in a while. My bike needs a little bit of work right now, but when I was training in the San Juans, I brought my bike with me so that I could like ride around to different runs. But the one time I did that, it like got me too tired and I fell on this run I had, and I got lucky that time. Like no serious damage, but it was close. It could have been bad. And so then I told myself I gotta take care of myself and just run and not be too tired when I do run.
Got it. What are some things that you know now as an athlete that you wish you knew maybe when you were in college or 10K training or just moving up in distance? Or I guess 10K to 100, but somewhere in the middle there.
That like doing the training for trail running and ultras has been mostly on the single track, like rocky trails that we all know, running the canyon. And I feel like my legs are stronger now than they were when I was in college, doing all of the speed work and the weightlifting, which I still do sometimes, especially in the winters. But like my legs, if I could combine the strength that I have in my legs and my body now with the speed that I was training for in college, I know I would be a lot better. So just getting that, getting your trail legs, I guess, like I think a lot of college runners and professional track runners and marathon runners would benefit a lot from that hip strength and quad and calf strength that you get from run and vert. Like, I follow a couple of them obviously on social media, and I see what they're running, and it's like 1,000 feet per week, which like in Flagstaff, even running on the roads,
Right, you
it's
can do
hard
that
to
in
get
one
that
run.
little.
Yeah.
But like if they just
At Buffalo
had-
Park, you gain like 250 feet in like a couple loops.
yeah, something like that. And so if they just increase that weekly vert a little bit, I think that would help them a lot. It's like it adds like a third dimension to the training that I did not discover until I started doing this.
So are you working with a coach?
No,
Self-coaching?
self-coach, self-taught, me and Jim and Tim and Eric and Jared, we all like coach ourselves, we help each other out with like training methods, and for the most part we like figure out what we need to do together, whether it's like running the canyon, running in the San Juans, like altitude, like what we need to do to get better.
What's it like racing with those guys?
It's really fun. I mean, we haven't really raced together that much, but when we were at Western States, it was really great. Like the biggest thing that I got from it was just knowing that they were there, even though I couldn't see them most of the time. Like Tim and I did get to run together for a pretty good portion of the race, but just knowing that they were out there with me doing the same thing, it was a major benefit for sure.
Just having that familiarity.
Yeah, and it made the first half of the race go by really easy because I just kept telling myself like this is just a long run with friends.
Nice. What is it that you're thinking about on the start line?
As you're racing and like at the start line, you're just visualizing the rest of the race, I guess, making sure you're eating enough, visualization mainly.
Are you doing a lot of mental prep?
Yeah, mental prep, preparing for like the whole day sometimes that you have ahead of yourself of running, just hoping that everything goes your way because so many things can go wrong. It's almost like you have to get lucky for everything to happen correct.
A topic I like to talk about a lot on this podcast is balance, and most of the guests are ultra runners. There are a few shorter distance athletes, but at the end of the day, everyone's training a lot, and they're doing long runs and they're doing long workouts, and that's demanding on themselves, on their significant others, on their family, on their friends. How do you keep all of that sort of in, I don't want to say balanced, but in check?
Just with other hobbies.
Yeah.
Basically. You can find stuff outside of running to do. Like, I feel like I don't live the normal professional runner lifestyle like a lot of people do in Flagstaff. Those are mostly like the trail or the track and the road runners, where their whole life is running and they don't have much balance. But just recently I bought another motorcycle down in Tucson and I've been working on that. It's pretty old and needed a lot of work, and it's been fun learning how to work on that and get it running again. So that's one of the things that I have to do in my free time, basically, to take my mind completely off of running.
Yep.
Either working on the motorcycle or riding the motorcycle.
Must be fun on the roads out here.
Yes, it is nice, especially summers here, but winters could get a little rough.
Yeah.
But Phoenix is perfect in the winters for riding. But then even though it's still active recovery, I guess, I still like riding the bicycle. And
you have a lot of wheels in your house.
Yeah, I did a lot of two-wheeled stuff growing up, like mountain biking on Mount Diablo growing up, but never motorcycles until the last couple of years.
Cool. What are some things you wish your fans knew about you?
I don't know. Probably that. I'm super into motorcycles now, and I love working on them and learning about them. And yeah.
Where'd that come from?
Probably watching like the Discovery Channel growing up. There was all those custom motorcycle competitions and shows on there. And like growing up on the mountain bike and road bike, like doing that a lot. I raced mountain bikes in high school for a season or two. So always been into bicycles and think motorcycles is the next frontier. The next frontier, the logical progression of that hobby.
Cool. Where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Cody Reed with 4 E's, Grumpy Cody Reed with 4 E's, and I'm on Facebook and Strava and Twitter, but my main thing is Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining today, Cody, and we'll see you out there.
Thank you.
For sure.
That's it for today's episode. Like many long runs, it's sad when it has to end. I hope you join in next week on For the Long Run, and in the meantime, happy trails. If you've enjoyed this episode, it would mean a lot to me if you shared it so that others can find it and enjoy it too.